Hi, this is the evaluation of the order trading system for December the 31st, 2020. We've had 12 trades on that day. 1 was a buy, 11 were short sells. First trade is EOG. That is EOG Resources Incorporated. They traded at 11:59 a.m. at a price of 49.93. It was a short sell. It closed the day at 49.87, so that's a positive trade. Check indicators that they also show a downward activity. OBD somewhat. You can see it looks like it may have been making a recovery. MACD was down late morning, early afternoon, and basically started recovering for the afternoon. So MACD was showing that the stock was going up for the afternoon. The price is showing the same thing. It recovered, went down again, even though the indicator MACD is not showing that. DI, morning, early afternoon down, afternoon up a good portion of time, and Bollinger Band, you can see it came down and basically moving sideways, and it didn't come above its trading tripping price, so that would have been a positive outcome of that trade. Next trade is CRON. That is Kronos Group Incorporated. They're tripped at 12:13 p.m. at a price of $6.99. It was a short sell. They closed the day at $6.94, down 4.94%. They didn't get the biggest one, but it was down also. So that's another positive trade because it closed below its tripping price. Short sell, that is positive. See the indicator showing a downward trend, somewhat OBV, somewhat downwards. MACD down, good portion of the day it was down, sideways a little bit, and they looked like it needed recovering. DI though is showing pretty much down for the whole day. It's up a little bit early morning time, but pretty much down for the rest of the day. And Bollinger Band just showing a steady decline. Next trade was BIDE. That's Beidou Incorporated. They took at 12:15 p.m. at a price of $213.01. It was a short sell. It closed 216.24. It was down 1.54%, but you'll see it recovered quite a bit. We'll see if we've got anything. See 12, so right around this area is the trend. I don't think we're see. Yeah. We'll see it pretty much. No, technically no explicit recovery. It just happened to come up a little bit just below its tripping price and just started moving sideways. That stock looks to be possible just because of the fact that it's moving sideways, so there's no potential upwards movement, no potential downwards movement, but again, it was down from previous close. OBD showing us the same thing. It looks like it was covering a little bit at the end of the day. MACD dropped, and you can see that recovery and then moving sideways. DI is showing negative there in the morning and the afternoon, and positive, a little bit negative early afternoon, but still at closing was down. And Bollinger Band showing straight down. I'm going to call this a possible, even though it's going to be somewhat questionable possible, or it's still possible from my perspective. The ABA, that's Alibaba Group of Holdings Units. The trick at 12:15 p.m. at 2:32.02. It was a short sell. It closed at 2:32.73, so it did close up. It was down 2.73%, so it was down. Let's see, 12:15. roughly around this area, 231, 231.55, so it's definitely down there, 232, it was up there, then came down, so a good portion here, almost 3/4 of an hour down there, 232, it didn't come down up there, it did come down here. It just happened to be that at the end of the day it happened to look like a bit of a recovery here, but you can see this at least an hour, almost an hour and a quarter time that was below its triple price, so that's a positive trend. Let's see if the indicators are showing the same thing. OBV is pretty much down. MACD actually down in the early morning, but basically recovering a bit sideways in the afternoon. Early afternoon it was recovering MACD wise. DI showing negative morning, early afternoon. You can see it's heavily negative, so it was moving negative. And in the afternoon it sort of recovered a little bit of a negative downward trend in the middle late afternoon, and into day it started recovering. And both of the guys showing the same thing, but this point in the afternoon where it looked like it may have made a little bit of recovery, but just moved sideways also, dropped a little bit to drop in this space. So. Next trade is ETS1. FT Incorporated, took a trade at 4:22 p.m. That price at 163.23. It was a short sell. 176.23. It closed at 127.91. It was down 2.88%, so we'll have to see if it dropped a little. So the trading rapidly closing. Low 40s, so it closed around here. 176. 176. Yeah. Interesting. There's no point change in what it did. Basically, started moving sideways after it tripped, but it did recover a little bit after the triple price. So the D showing the same thing, moving backwards and forwards. That D showing that it did drop and then recovered. Move sideways. DI, yeah, down in the morning. Actually, it was showing a good portion. DI showing a good portion of the day. It was actually down. So the stock was moving down. And Bollinger Band, I see it dropped and basically moved sideways. I'm going to consider that a possible just because of the fact that there's no explicit, heavy or strong indication that it's moving positive. It did recover a little bit, but after its recovery, it started moving sideways. It did recover heavily above its triple price. Next trade is NTNX. That's Nutanix Incorporated. They tripled the number of 4 at a price of 32.23. It was a short sell. They closed at 31.87, down 1.23%. So that's a positive trade. Check the sheet here. Indicators are showing similar. OBV definitely showing downward direction. MACD, though, interestingly, is showing pretty much a positive movement. So that's very interesting that the averages overall look to be coming up after that. Moving average is a basis of comparing two different bandwidth or two different time frames. They call them short and long, and they pretty much say if short is above long, it's moving strong, it's down, it's moving it's below, and it's moving downwards. That's the interpretation of MACD. And as you can see, it looks like the shorter averages were pushed upwards, so it gives the impression that short-term wise, the stock was being pushed up. It's very interesting, because looking below that at DI is showing negative directional index, which practically the whole day it was pushing negative. And a good portion of the day it was very heavily negative. So it's interesting because you have comparisons between two indicators that are showing practically the opposite. MACD is showing somewhat a positive direction, DI is showing a very negative direction. And Bollinger Band, actually the end result of that is downward. So it definitely is a positive trade. Next trade is INO. It's Immobile Pharmaceuticals Incorporated. It traded at 1:15 p.m. at a price of $8.93. It was a short sell. It closed at $8.85, so that technically is below its stripping price. Some indicators are going to show moving downwards. Yes, OBD down. MACD is showing somewhat downward. It's a little recovery you can see at the end of the day. So the end of day, in the late afternoon, it was showing a recovery. DI pretty much negative for the whole day, but you can see that recovery in May. But even though the recovery happened, it still looked like the recovery was reversing. So it still looked like it was going to be moving negative. DI, ADX is showing very heavily negative. So that is a consequence that is a good point to perceive that it looks like it was going down heavily. Bollinger Bands, look at that. It's making a fairly steadily decline downward. That little recovery we see at the end of the day, and then moving sideways. So, no strangers there. There's no big deal. Next trade is KPTA. That is Cario Farm Therapeutics Incorporated. It tripped at 150.21 at a price of $15.35. It was a buy trade. It closed at $15.48, up 1.18%. Another positive trade. Okay. Check the indicators for that one. Excuse me. OBD somewhat, back and forth a little bit, but technically moving sideways. Back to interestingly enough is early afternoon, late morning showing it dropping, recovered, dropped. So afternoon was bouncing back and forth. DI though, DI is actually showing the majority of the day was actually moving positive. So DI is showing a positive direction. Bollinger Band, again, it pretty much was coming up for the whole day. So that's not good. Next trade is CNK. That's Cinemark Holdings Incorporated. It tripped at 1:55 at 3 p.m. Price is 17.67. It was a short sale. It closed at 17.41. So it was a positive trade. Check the indicators to see if they show the same thing. It actually was moving somewhat upwards in the morning, early afternoon, and then dropped. Afternoon dropped. MACD showing the same thing. It was pretty much dropping late morning is when it flipped and just started dropping. DI, DI showing somewhat bouncing back and forth. Again, it was up the morning DI was and down, up, down. It was actually bouncing back and forth. So that's interesting, DI showing that kind of activity. But the Bollinger Band just showing a steady decline. That itself, some indication of the movement trend. Next trade is LOW. That's Lowe's Companies Incorporated. It tripped at 2:10:25 p.m. at a price of $159.86. A short sale. It closed at 160.51, so it closed up and was down a little bit from previous close. You can see at the end of the day for price, it shot up. And that's what happened there. It shot up at the end of the day. So 210. Somewhat recovered. 159.66. Yeah, it's just not enough. It tripped right around this area here, but then recovered. Really, it tripped right around this It tripped right around its low point. It did come down, but then it did continue. And that's a peculiar one, because of that basically did have a drop and then recovered again. Recovered fairly heavily. LBD is showing that too. Look, sideways, practically, and then the day moving up. Well, MACD is showing somewhat sideways and moving up. DI is actually showing more negative than positive. Interesting. I'm going to consider it a negative trade. It just happened to be picked up because of the point of where value is showing the downward trading activity. Next trade is AVGR. That's Avenger Incorporated. It's with a 2:55:15 p.m. at a price of 43 cents. It was a short sale. It was closing at 44.01. Closed above its tripping price, but it was down 6.86%. So the price is down below its previous close. So let's just check to see if it finished today. Yeah, like that. It's down 43. No, recovered. There's nothing there that's showing me that stock. Nothing further than that. OBD sideways, MACD sideways. DI was actually pointing with a trip, which we were on here where it spiked up in the negative direction. And then started moving downwards and moving upwards. And the thing is, across the board, OBD is not showing extensively negative. Bollinger Band not really showing negative. It's not really a good chart for that. The scale is somewhat out. So, yeah, indicators are not really showing a strong negative direction. So it's a possible trade. Next trade is GPS. The Gap Incorporated. At 2:15:01 p.m. Price of 2022. It was a short sale. Closed the day at 2018, down 1.42%. So that's another positive trade. And let's check to see if the indicators are showing that. Yes. OBB, if basically dropping. MACD down, a little bit of recovery early afternoon and then drop for this. MACD is actually showing the majority of the day was down. DI showing the majority of the day down. That's across the board. That stock was just moving down across all indications. So that leaves 8 out of 12 stocks as positive. Trading possibility. And that is 67%. Not high, but it's not terrible either. And again, this is normal for this period of time, end of the year, forward type of point in time. People are just getting those, and things will be selling off. So that's the consequence. But as you can see, the system itself is designed to monitor that kind of activity too. As you can see, it's generated a lot of short selling opportunities, of which you can force them on the positive. We had a couple of trades that questionable. We did have 2 possible trades, so if we consider that that'd be 10 out of 12 trades that are potentially positive. So with that in conjunction, it brings it up to a much higher percentage wise. So in general, I consider it a not bad thing. I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.